monkey dance, monkey act with me. If there's a monkey in you, you'll want a monkey with me at the Adventure Playfest. The Adventure Playfest. Is everybody ready for an adventure?
It's a baby.
Chupacabra.
Oh, it's a chupa. Oh, I used to have one that it wasn't fully hairless. It had a little peach fuzz, but it was the same breed, I think.
You could probably make 100% shocking cryptid video with some forced perspective on that cat. It looks like a chupacabra. Oh,
and there she goes. Yeah, she has a little fur mask, and then she has boots with
ET face.
Is that a very loving? I can't remember what the breed is, but mine was like extremely loving and like affectionate.
She loves me like my dad does.
Yeah, and that could go a lot of ways.
That's not affectionate, I would assume.
So she loves you at a distance and calls once a year?
Yeah, she tries to buy my life in the mall.
Yeah, ukulele sets you so free on your like vocals, like you just don't even have to fucking worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got back from Put-in Bay in Ohio, up towards Toledo. It's near Point Place, and I went around. I found this pattern that's really beneficial for me, where I use during the day, right? And I can do this in festivals too. During the day, I dress like a bard and I go around and I sing for everybody. I just make up songs, I sing for them, and they all they're like, oh, there's that bard. And they develop this rapport and this understanding of who I am, right? And then later in the night, when I go out clubbing and I go dancing and just partying with them, they already know me. So I've already created friendships in like a character that then later they're like, oh, there's that bard. And they automatically come and interact with me. And it's cool. It's a cool pattern. Oh, it's so nice.
Welcome to the Unthink Me podcast. This is another Artists Anonymous segment. James, Danielle, Adam, and Andrew will be your hosts tonight. Hello, my name is Adam, and I'm an artist.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
And I'm an artist.
Yeah, I'm an artist too. I sing and play music and dance and do all kinds of weird stuff, costumes.
Okay, thanks. This is okay. Let's go. So you're a troubadour and a bard. Bard, are you a bard class on your D&D sheet? Would you say?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
It's like a robot bard though.
A monk class, but you fit the bard, yeah.
The robotic bard. I'm a robot technology bard.
Because at the lower levels, bards suck, and then they just take off, and they're like the best, like high level fuckers.
Plus, they support the whole group, right? They buff the group so much that it's just like stupid. It's like you could be a level 1 and you're still like a 50 when you're around them.
Oh yeah. By the way, we're gonna play fucking Dungeons and Dragons someday.
I would love that. That sounds amazing.
Make that happen. Okay. Anyways, so you're troubadour now. You have this natural need to like. I don't have this at all. You have this natural. I want to communicate ideas. You want to be in front of people, having them paying attention to you, and having them be fucking totally dazzled by what's happening.
It's pretty much all I do. Even if I try, like even when I'm really busy and like bogged down with like work and school, I can't help it. I just automatically go out to open mics. I go dancing. I go to festivals. Just even if it's weird. I tell myself sometimes too, like, oh, I'm not gonna do that for a little while. And the next thing I know, I'm there, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Here I am again. Yeah, the intrinsic motivation is it's pretty strong. I have a generative drive to entertain other people and make them happy in that way. Since I was like 9 years old, I was encouraged by the family just because I could sing well. So I was. Because of taking piano, and my mom and dad, they both had pretty good singing voices. I automatically had just the talent for it pretty early on. And then I was encouraged by the world. It was just like, hey man, you're accepted because of these things that because the joy you bring to this. So it's kind of developed since then, but it didn't really take off until I went into a community like Portland, Oregon. When I moved there about 10 years ago, it wasn't just accepting, it was like, they like focused on me. They like wanted to push me up. Everybody around was like, hey, be a part of this, be a part of that. And as I got involved, I started to realize that I liked being that center of attention and that performer. And then I met Monkey with a Hat On, which is a theater group that does a bunch of these 10-minute Playfest, which there's like variety shows, a bunch of mini plays.
How often is it, like seasonal or?
It's 3 times a year. They do it every like 4 months.
Portland, Oregon, Southeast Portland, the Clinton Street Theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now it's actually at the Alberta Abbey. They upgraded to a bigger theater. Mm-hmm.
Oh dang, good.
Yeah, They're because they got new ownership took over and a bunch of stuff, and there was complications, but we were selling out so many nights in a row, and we were turning people down at the door. They were like, hey, we need a bigger theater.
The idea is it's like a community thing, and it's all volunteer. Everyone comes in. There's this one guy, Ollie, who like organizes the whole thing, and people will write a script and submit it, and then it'll be like approved or like rewrite, and then they'll get a group of actors together and a director, and they'll just make a 10-minute thing, as quick as possible, full stage, costumes, and you would think that something like that would end up being lame. But nothing could be further from the truth. Like, every single play has something in it. There's usually like kind of 2 lame ones, and then like the rest are all like amazingly funny or cool or interesting. It's a really neat event. And one thing they started doing pretty early on is they added a band to do musical segues in between all the plays. So we were doing the plays. I think we initially got into the plays, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you play music and suck at acting. Why don't you be the musical in between?" So I think that's kind of where it was starting to move.
I think it has to do with the structure. Like Ollie just had a really good. He took advantage of everybody putting in their efforts, and he really encouraged all these positions. The directors and like
hell of a motivator.
Yeah, he's a hell of a motivator, and he separated like some of the shows that I've seen that are similar that don't work as well is because there's one person trying to do too much, right? He would have somebody write a play, direct a play, and act in a play. And Ollie over the years began to realize that no, these all need to be separate things, and no one can do more than one at a time. And what that did is it allowed them to put more energy. They put all that energy they would use that was spread out was just dedicated to that one position, and through that it just created this awesome development where it's like I'd say it's more entertaining than some of the more 6-month planned out full on already pre-written plays. It has so much entertainment involved, and it's so unique. And we actually got involved because with me and you, because one of the bands that played the previous show was so bad, right? It was so bad that the audience was talking about it because they were just terrible, right?
Okay, and then according to the audience, it was bad. This isn't us.
What
yes, of course.
But
it was bad because
with the music, it was not very well put together. They were talented individuals.
Yeah, and this happened twice, right?
So they're not watching this. Those guys,
they're not watching this, and we're not identifying who they are either. What's up?
So what it was like their group didn't mesh. The sound was bad.
It started out one of the bands was just not that very good of a band. They just weren't that creative. It just in general, even if you went to the bar and saw them playing, you would probably walked away. And it just so happened because Ollie's a brilliant guy, but he's just not very musically inclined. So he was the one picking these bands. So he didn't do a good job before I came along. That happened, and on top of that, one of the bands dropped out a month and like 2 weeks before the Red Playfest. They just dropped out, and then he calls me up because when we were hanging out, drunk one night, I offered the idea of, hey, I could, and I said, hey, what if I wrote an entire play in a musical format that was centered around the theme with characters every time, a new one every single time? And he was like, yeah, right, you can't do that. He was like, I'm not going to rely on that. He was like, you're not going to do that. He just didn't believe me,
Andrew fucking it seemed so obvious to him to make this like segue between acts into a fucking rock opera. And like how dare you doubt that Andrew could fucking do that? Because like Andrew's like the only person that can make it into a first one. The Scarlett Johansson's, yeah.
We created it so
because it's red.
We basically only had like 3 weeks to create and like practice an entire 8-song set of like just a story of some kind. So between me and you, Adam, we grabbed some of it was just old material and stuff we didn't use yet.
The red 10-minute festival.
I was Santa on the guitar. You were Satan on lead vocals. The actual Lord of Darkness. Tilo in that case was the alien, or what was Tilo at that time?
No, he was a lobster. He was actually a lobster he was a lobster that would tap on the tank, a lobster tank in a restaurant that I saw, and I turned him into a human lobster. I gave him like humanoid.
Particularly brilliant because we all know how well creatures with pincers play the drum set.
Yeah. he actually had claws too that he was holding the fucking drumsticks with. It was ridiculous. But yeah, basically we put together these like songs that told a story about, you know, how we got here, like how did the devil actually get chosen to do this show.
I'm the devil, I am like this. Deceitful and so blasphemous, my profanity. Enforcing heresy, these words are homicidal. This melody is vital, and witchcraft's real. It fills your heart with envy, no shame, no fear. Could I be more clear? This hate and lust is something all you think, but it's all so fun. Red sin is in your veins, false gods calling you, feeding, burning, forcibly controlling you now. Just look what you've done. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Why God? Why me? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So many dudes. Why do all hotties go to heaven? Come on, God, leave some for me. Why do all hotties go to heaven? I told you there's so many guys down here. Plead as you might, I'll have you down on your knees. Drop by drop, I will feed you. There will be nothing left of you but greed.
What was I kidnapped you from the North Pole, killed a bunch of your elves, and, you know, said F you to your wife. I just kidnapped you because I was like, you're gonna play guitar because I know you can rock. And then I turned a lobster into a human because it basically all for this opportunity that Ali contacted the devil. He basically sold his soul, made a contract to say, hey, I couldn't find a band, so I asked the devil for help. I did like a seance and got the devil involved. And my agenda was, the reason why I accepted it is because it was my chance to come to the surface and take a bunch of souls down to hell with me. So the audience were the souls that I was capturing, and then Santa thwarted me by killing me with a poison. You know, he poisoned my butter that I put on the claw because I was, you know, I'm evil. I tried to eat the lobster at the end of it.
Okay, so like knowing most of the lyrics and having participated in it like 80 times or something, that totally makes sense. That's totally what was happening.
So we kind of dazzled him with that, but he still didn't believe that we could do it continuously, because the biggest thing that he was concerned about, which is it's valid, right? He didn't want to give a position. And he didn't want to give a position to somebody. It was about relinquishing a part of that power. He knew that he could consistently get bands, but to give it to somebody to be responsible for that was so hard for him because it's his baby. You know, he made this entire organization for years. It took him years to get it done.
I was going to say, too, that whole move of, it seems like the leader, Ollie, got into this, went through a growth process of learning to deal with the too many cooks in the kitchen problem. And it's delegating, and you do this specific role. Not like you're involved with this and you deal with those guys and you'll figure it out. No, you're the guy that at the end of the day, if this one thing isn't right, it's your ass. Like that's like how you do it. he
didn't realize he mentioned it in a toast after that one too. After he finally accepted me, was Andrew created his own position of musical director. I didn't even know I needed that, but he's the musical director now. And it upped the show. I mean, tenfold. Like after the band immediately after us, again, they tried to copy us, right? So then not only was the first band, the first band wasn't that good on their own material. And then the second band, they did this beach theme and they tried to do surfer, but they didn't put any of the work in that I put in. So all their songs sounded the same, right? There was like the same surfer rock vibe over and over again. And the audience got extremely bored and they just talked about how like, man, it was in contrast to the devil. This was like awful.
That's true. We didn't even. It was very eclectic stylistically. Like you had like every song was its own, and they were very different. They were. Yeah,
they were, and it not only did it tell an overarching story, but because all the plays were connected to a theme read, it gave the illusion that we had planned it too, right? And I noticed that kept going on. It wasn't a phenomena, or it wasn't like just like a momentary thing. Every Playfest after that, anytime I did a show, it looked like I had coordinated with all these plays, which I obviously didn't. It was just the theme.
And in case it's not clear, the Playfest has like a theme, and so in this case it was red. I hope that's clear. Red is the theme.
Yes.
Okay. And then we got into the next one, which was, I think, like musically and conceptually was quite good. And we actually did record it in a studio. Like,
well, that's the one we had more time. We had a lot more time to work on. We had like 3 months to work on it. We decided to record
it then. We all
then.
knew that we were doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something we prepared for, and we did the Questernauts for the Adventure Playfest.
We know today would be our judgment day. It's the apocalypse. The shit is coming. It's coming for you. Yeah, it's coming for you. I said it's coming for you. Yeah, it's coming for you. I said it's coming. Yeah, it's time to get real crazy. Let's colonize and make a bunch of little babies. Please don't make me choose. I'll colonize with all of you. Ooh, I'm gonna take my rocket, stick it in your. Holy shit! There's a giant planet headed straight for us. We've only got a few seconds until the new world's ending. Ran out of time to. This is it. It's finally happening. That planet's on its way. I said it's coming. Ah!
Yeah, and that was the theme was adventure, and we were the Questernauts, and we were gonna, save the world because a meteor's coming, and we're gonna populate, Mars, and like create a whole new life for us. And
you get to hear Andrew's Donald Trump in an actual
yeah, I pretended
rap.
to be Donald Trump. I came out and took over, and then we ended up overthrowing him. It was I did a Trump rap. That's a good. It was actually a really good song.
The left-wing media wants you to be a greedy Mars-loving liberal. Link in the Wikipedia. Their idea is thoughtless. They want me, my freedom caucus, to move our office to a small hut in a lawless metropolis. This idea is so fantastic. I don't think there's a better plan. You know what? Nobody bombs a meteor like me, okay? You ask anybody, I do the best bombings. Fuck the media, we're gonna nuke that meteor. Alright, colonist and weird alien guy, play me out. Do you realize where we're at? I'm in space with you, weightless with you, so much to do. Up here in space with you. Oh, 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 watch the rockets glow. See the constellations through the glass window. You know, this is precisely what you need in your life right now on this flight right now. No gravity here in space. We can float around in place. If you'd like some freeze-dried ice cream.
Don't look up.
Don't look up. Colonist, because if you're gonna go and colonize Mars, you're gonna need some colonists. So I had
Yeah.
like a wig and like a fucking blue coat. Like,
Yep. Tilo was an alien that was part of the meteor, the early part of the meteor. So like a piece of the meteor was preceding the actual impacting one, the one that was going to destroy the world, that landed like weeks before the meteor was coming. And we found this alien on it, and he became the drummer, and he was just like following us around, didn't speak English, just making alien noises. Yeah.
and so then at that point, I drop out of the picture. Probably T drops out of the picture, and
Yep.
then you become JUNGLECORP'S, right?
That was actually so right after that one, it was so successful in contrast, and he finally was convinced. He was like, all right, he did it again, and this time he had more time, and it was even better. He's like, okay, this is it. You're the one who's doing this. So he gave me the contract then, without admitting I was a director yet, and I came up with that. Me and Jimmy, a great guy, came up with JUNGLECORP, which is a parody of Amazon, right? Where we create with Mark Bezos, right? Parody of Jeff Bezos on bass, created a synthetic entertainer to replace all entertainers, and they had a drum bot, and the scientist was on guitar to like create me. And the whole thing of that was just simple. It was like I came to life. They showed you right in front of me, like, hey, and I'm singing about how I'm coming to life, and I start developing, and you see me gaining more intelligence to a point where I believe that I can save mankind by killing everybody.
You made like a fully professionally produced music video.
Mhm.
It was really good. I mean, it was like ridiculous. It was like competent, like studio level. Like,
Can
for
we
that.
link in the comments below?
I hope we can link that because it's really quite awesome.
We could even what's cool is we'll also link, which was the one after that even, which was Making Fire, or we did a parody of Firefest, that failed musical. We did our own version where his little brother recreated it again in the theater, but with even more outrageous things besides a storm. It was like aliens attacking. basically that during that time we made a documentary, a little 9-minute video that tells you everything that I'm explaining now. It even shows you footage of like the rehearsals and the different things. It basically reduces the entire production to this little 9-minute tutorial or whatever, you know, like showing you
Don't
this is
watch
what
our
we
show.
do.
Watch that video. That sounds amazing.
It's really good. It's
Now
called
that you're
Making Fire on under Jungle Corp on YouTube.
Andrew has all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we over the years it's 9 albums and like, you know, several music videos and a bunch of we live streamed our parties because we had parties in between to promote the show. We used to make a beer that was Jungle Corp specific and it was a different theme each time.
Yep.
We had a lot. We basically created from that. We created a whole community that just followed it, and the production level of the show increased tenfold. I mean, like Well, it started out as like this 10-minute Playfest, right, with a bunch of plays, and then there was also music, and then it became the music was the show, and these plays were their transition. And so people saw it as like the overarching story. This book cover is Jungle Corp is the show, and then they also have these little mini plays in between their act.
Oh, you shark! You're a fucking shark in the water.
That's what he said. He came up and he was like, you were supposed to make the show better, not take the show over. And I was like, hey man. It's hard to create musical rock operas every 4 months that are unique and custom without people recognizing how special that is.
There's
and that's just the truth
you
of
were
it.
doing something right. Yeah. Did you have like a best moment there?
There was 9 altogether over the course of like a couple of years. I think, several years, because there was a gap there in the beginning. But it's hard to say which ones are like the best or like were my favorite part. It tended to just keep rolling and stacking. I think the key there was that I adopted Ollie's model where I got more people involved. So it wasn't the same musicians. There was a featured artist. Not only in person, there was a new artist that we built the album around, but we also chose styles that best fit the theme. So it was very diverse. If you listen to the albums, they're like starkly different. You can tell it's me singing, and I have kind of a theme in my own, you know, personal voice and like what I create, the melodies. But they were, you know, one was polka, one was like built around these this rock style. You know, there was another one that was really dramatic and super noir-y that was called Shadows Playfest. And overall, we kind of developed that whole like, you know, idea of just like, hey, let's custom make songs. Surprisingly too, it actually led to I sold some songs to Google for their like their security team for like increasing awareness about like electrical safety issues. They made like characters and stuff, and I made theme songs for them. And it became like a thing. Like I was holding like raffles at certain events where if you won, then I would write you a custom song. You know, there's stuff like Robert's House and like certain things that I did for the parties that were just songs for them. And I continue to do today. I just did in my own personal life a song for my one of my best friend's wedding, where I sang about him and his wife, and I made it into a toast song where everybody and I jumped up, you know, during the groomsmen toast because I was a little groomsman, and that's kind of what birthed out of that for me personally was that you give me a subject, a theme, and any style that you would like it to be in, and I can pretty much create you a song that has the details in it. I've even had people literally send me notes about a person's life and integrated it all into like a full-length song about that person.
Did you have any kind of low points or struggles in this process?
Not to throw it, because we're on good terms now, but the people that were the core members, the reason why I took off from Jungle Corp is because I met a savant who can play like pretty much anything. He's just a genius. This dude could harmonize any instrument with anything you're doing without even thinking. He's got like perfect pitch. So he was our expert on creating instrumentals, as well as he helped edit harmonies. He was just super good at harmonies. And then Ryan, which was the producer, and he's got an entire studio in his basement, very well off and very educated. He's probably one of them. I've never really met anybody that is good at editing and he's insane. He like instant. And because of his neurodivergent, he also it's something about that made him really good at focusing on details and making them better. So between those guys and me, that was the core, and that was what made us able to create such good content and to hold these parties and stuff. And the hardest part was keeping that. Just like it reminds me of like the Beatles, the falling out they had. There was moments there where it was just really, and it was mostly between me and Ryan because we're both leaders. And we had a lot of. That's what ended up killing the band in a sense was me and him having a falling out.
We've all worked together. I've worked with those guys. Yeah, it's tough. It's hard keeping a thing going and keeping everybody on the same page and everything.
Yeah, we.
So is it? Are you? So you're no longer like a part of it. It's kind of become its own other thing.
So
It seems like you pop over there and do stuff with it still.
I did. No, I'm still involved on and off. Just kind of that's one of the best parts about Jungle Corp in why we followed Ollie's model is the nature of it is it's its own entity and it can consist of anybody. You know, anybody coming and going. And I basically trained in a sense, but he always had that passion in him. But Eric, Eric, Adam, he really took the idea and was just so in love with Jungle Corp so much. I think he's going to get a tattoo. And he was like, I love the idea of Jungle Corp so much. And I saw that in him and I handed it down to him after discussing it with Dan and being like, hey, you're the one now. So now he's already made 3 more. Right. And he does the show continuously. And it's just taken on a life of its own. Now it's this whole production that has to be there. You know what I mean? It's going to be there forever. I can't imagine. He also has the idea that if he ever was going to leave, he's going to hand it off to someone else. So Jungle Corp will be alive for many years to come, I'm sure.
Okay, so for the Artists Anonymous thing, is this sort of retrospective interpretation. It's like you're this guy who had this like really natural proclivity coming from a musical family where music is part of how you communicate. And I've like literally seen this, like when you're hanging out with your mom, you like sing at each other. I'd got my ass kicked growing up if I did that, right? And so this results in you not learning bad vocal technique from the start. And so that was a big dynamic in our relationship is me like learning all this stuff from you about vocals. So you try out all these bands, you love performing, you're somewhat of a comedian or like a performing artist and all that. And you were always trying to do maybe like a soul thing or like a duet or something, but you never really found a thing that kind of kept going. But just out of nowhere in Portland, there's this weird theater community that just it was like a perfect opportunity that matched. You find yourself in this thing that does involve filmmaking, comedy, acting, concept art, and music, and you're like the lead singer in a full-on costume regalia, and it just seems like oh, there's a person that found their thing, but it doesn't feel like that when you're doing it. It's like all this playing, and you're like, do I like this? And it's like it becomes a thing that like seems more comfortable until a point where you're kind of like able to stand atop the peak and go, this is an awesome thing. I love this. Like, what do you think about all that? Is that at all accurate?
Yeah, no, that's very accurate. Because to mention too, I did the full on. I was making set design stuff. I was sewing the costumes myself, creating the story. Like a lot of it was the thing that was hard to struggle with. I'd say now that you mentioned it was the fact that I wanted to delegate more work to others, but the nature of what I was doing was so unique. It was hard to. I tried to, and then the people weren't willing to either they weren't willing to, or they didn't have the just the epiphanies that allowed them to do that. I was so passionate about it that I just kept doing it. And so that did create a little burnout, especially with the, struggling artists where I didn't really have a high income. I was making just above minimum wage. And,
I'll say, like, when we were doing it, you were doing everything. You were like running ideas just for your own constructive work, but like you did the writing, the songwriting, the fucking arranging, like you did the costumes, like everything was you. And like we were just kind of hired guns. We're like, I guess I'll go along with this if I have time. And you eventually found people who were like had the same passion for the project as you. But I mean, that's just so beautiful. Like you kind of knew what you were doing, and you were like willing to suffer the slings and arrows and just get your ass up here with me, do this thing, and it like worked out, and everyone was satisfied. It's cool.
You know what's funny too? There's something here to note too. It's so everything I was struggling with trying to allocate and to get other people involved, there was some correlation between the fact that I was the front of that, right? So it wasn't just that I couldn't find those people and then it was hard to allocate, but because I was doing it originally, people were less likely to do that work. Even and there was a bit balance there where I couldn't retreat because then it would lower the quality of the show. But funny enough, when I left, because Eric it had a passion for it, but he didn't quite have the same talents and efforts that I had. He successfully has allocated it to many other people. So now it's kind of functioning with a bigger group. And that's something to be said about things in general, right? You create something, and at a certain point, if you either plateau, get burnt out, or you hand it off and or let it evolve into something new. And that was the choice I was faced with just a year ago, which is why I came back home to go to school full time, is that I realized I'm either going to keep doing this, and this could be a fun, wonderful life, or and again, considering that it most likely would be at the detriment of the quality of the show, it wouldn't continue to rise. Or I can hand off my baby, the thing I love most, so that it can grow more. It's like letting go of that love so that it can blossom into something bigger. And that really was the key. Yeah. And now I come back into town. I was just there a few months ago. So every year I show up in the summer. We do a big old house party. Last one was massive. And we do some of the oldies. We bring back some of the old costumes. We perform for everybody. And then we introduce the new stuff and kind of like as a tribute. It's like, okay, this is the old thing. This is what it is now. Let's keep this going. And I'm hoping to keep that as a tradition, just to like remind people that like, hey, you can do this. You can give it up and you can still be a part of it. You don't have to, you don't have to smother it and suffocate it.
It's a sort of a burgeoning like second tier maturity where you've gone through a transition where at first most artists can relate to this. It's got to be all about you. It's your thing. It's your vision. You're the one who did it, and you want that credit and everything. The integral becomes more and more like the system is producing the thing I want it to produce. I will keep pushing it as long as I have to. But if I can set it and forget it, that's great. Like, wonderful. If other people want to do my work for me as an artist, that's how the integral starts like network, like thinking in terms of systemic networks rather than just like, the isolated, like my thing. It becomes about like, well, I have to actually get other people doing this too, or else it's kind of to a certain extent not real.
Yeah, that's actually a good lesson. I think that a lot of artists can learn. The one thing that the Monkeys taught me, Monkey with the Hat on, that whole production that was so valuable was because I had only 4 months and I had to create a new one in the next 4 months. I was encouraged to just create what I can, be satisfied, not obsess over the details too much, let it go and go on to the next one saying, okay, the next one will be better. This one doesn't have to be perfect. The next one will be better. The next one will be better. And that mentality of like, having something drive you to produce more content and to let it go and to move on as opposed to trying to perfect the one thing that you have now, I think is a major key towards creativity. We need to produce more and we need to move on and trust that we will grow with our next project instead of like obsessing over making sure that first one is exactly the way we want it. And I think that's something that a lot of artists struggle with is we get stuck in this limbo where we're like, I can't let it out yet because it just needs to be perfect. And it's like, no, let it out. It's okay if it's not perfect. Move on. And the funny phenomena that happens is you look back at those imperfections and they no longer bother you anymore. You're actually like, why was I obsessing over some of those details? They're actually great. I actually like some of these flaws. It's like, it's a weird thing. And I think that has to do with something the human conditions involved there somewhere.
Well, an attitude.
It plays a role in any sort of collaborative project where there's paralysis through analysis, right? So if you don't put anything out, nothing can change, nothing gets better, nothing grows.
In terms of the show's themes, this is really great because like in the last show, I had this whole bit where I was talking about getting a job. So here you have like Andrew, he has gone through the quest and gotten what he wanted out of art, continues to do so, satisfied his vision and delegated it to someone else so that it would keep going. He's going to college. He's going back to school.
And then I can go and I can always, and the best part, and because I figured out the part of the equation in this whole thing of my happiness, right? Because the whole thing, let's face it, we all just want to feel satisfied. Brene Brown calls it wholehearted living. We want to be happy in our life and our choices in the now. And I realized that the thing I was missing was my own financial stability, and that I couldn't, although I could have really focused on that in the musical field, that wasn't enjoyable to me. The financial side was not enjoyable. I just wanted to create the content, right? And that's something a lot of us artists can share. So I realized for me, some people choose to go, okay, I'm going to go with the technical side and I'm going to start working on that finance side, or I'm going to start investing in that. Or you can go with, okay, I'm going to find a better way to finance myself, right? That's manageable. And then I can return and have both of those things. So that's my journey in the future, is to take my education now and to create a community, right? To support and to produce more of these things that create happiness, which I think are directly related to entertainment, togetherness, feeling like you're a part of something. So one day I will return, but with my own stability, with my own, the stressors that were caused by living in that life of minimum wage and just not kind of struggling as an artist. So that I can have that fulfillment and just enjoy creating, as opposed to always having this, I got to make a profit off of it.
See, guys, it's not just Adam telling you to get a job. We got to take care of those lower altitudes too. And sometimes that just means like, I don't want to sleep on the ground tonight.
Yeah, the illusion of getting discovered, that kind of thing. It's funny how these pop culture things they perpetuate years after, right? It's been a long time since that's a thing. It's just not a thing that's consistent enough to rely on. It's like being hit by lightning. So now, if you want to continue and enjoy it, you can do that. Just like, try to find a way to at least set a foundation where you're comfortable, right? You just got to get you don't have to be rich. You just got to take care of your bills. You got to get above that hierarchy,
that baseline level of comfort, so that you're accepting and not tolerating the slings and arrows, inconveniences.
Yep. This is true.
I think you taking a break for school is going to be, I don't think it can do anything but help, right? You're going to come back with new skills, new experiences, and a new outlook on how you can improve and or evolve things from your past. That's so great. That's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I'm still can't help but create.
And
White Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Gandalf the Grey, I remember that name.
Sometimes that dream of being the artist where you can just do what you love and your passion, you'll also have all your financial stuff considered. I think that devalues the psychological healing and the good qualities of having this job, regardless of how mundane it is. There's something good about having that in our lives. Mm-hmm. And it's not just because we have to work to survive. It's actually part of us because we've been doing it since the day we've existed. Thousands of years ago, we've had to work on a regular basis. And those mechanisms evolved in us naturally. So they're good for us, right? We need to obviously find something that you're at least enjoy in a sense. I wouldn't suggest shoveling crap all day if you hate it. But man, do something. You got to do something more. Even if I were to have all the money given to me and given all this stuff, I think I would still go and volunteer somewhere where I talk about psychology and I try to help people because it's just good for my soul. It's good for me, good for my body.
People love working.
Mm-hmm. We need it. Yeah. In contrast, I really enjoy this. It's just, it's the idea that it's obvious when you have everything given to you, everything just tastes like ash. Yeah.
I spent 2 years hitting myself in the head with a hammer. It feels so good when you stop.
At the day.
This is the ship, and you're the crew. We're gonna make a bunch of colonists out of you. Your questronauts now, so be proud of that. I sure hope politics won't stop us in our tracks. We are on our way to Mars to stay. The last hope for all, or mankind will fall. We are on our way to Mars to stay. The last hope.